queridas y queridos, mi nombre es Scott Adame, soy editor de WARP y hoy vengo a presentarles una entrevista, nuestra última entrevista de portada, con una agrupación icónica, con una agrupación de culto llamada Pavement. Entrevistamos a 3 miembros de Pavement, literalmente a Bob, a Steve y a Mark, hace unas cuantas semanas, previo al concierto que van a dar como headliners del Festival Primavera Sound de Barcelona, España. Para mí, el mejor cartel del año. Para muchos, la presentación de Pavement, una de las presentaciones más importantes, incluso con auras de ser históricas de este 2022, debido a que es la primera vez que se van a presentar desde el 2010, cuando hicieron su gira de reunión, tras otros 10 años de no haber existido. Realmente Pavement tiene más de 22 años sin lanzar un álbum de estudio, desde Terror Twilight del 99, producido por Nigel Godrich. Y es una lástima porque es una agrupación que definió una era, que es una de las agrupaciones más influyentes, más importantes y más aclamadas en la historia del rock alternativo. Y tener una entrevista con ellos, ser una agrupación icónica, que ha influido demasiado a lo que es el sonido al cual nos dedicamos en WARP y que tiene pues ese estatus literalmente como de culto, de estrellas intocables, pues es increíble, ¿no? Entonces espero disfruten mucho esta entrevista. Es una hora en la cual profundizamos mucho en la historia de la agrupación y en el cómo es que llegan tras 20 años sin sacar música a ser headliners de un festival como el Primavera Sound, con la emoción que esto gesta, ¿no? Entonces espero la disfruten mucho. Hey, how are you? Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you. How is it going?
Good to meet you.
Everything is all right. Thank you very much. Hey, well, you're going to have like the first concerts in 2010 with Pavement.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. What's your name?
Oscar.
Oscar. Okay, Oscar.
Oscar, okay.
Yeah.
I want to know what are your expectations. It must be like pretty excited to be back on this road, on Pavement Road, right?
Mark?
Thank you, Bob. Yeah, I mean it's pretty kind of a mind blower for me, at least. I can't speak for everyone else. And talking about it now is sort of funny because we haven't even met, we haven't even come together to rehearse, and that's really, I think, probably the biggest thing on everyone's mind right now is like, how's this rehearsal going to go, and like what songs are we going to play, and but I speaking for myself, very excited about playing all these songs again, and seeing the fans and how they've changed, over the years.
Oh, okay. So you don't know yet what songs are you playing?
Well, I mean, we have a list of 70 potential songs.
We know we're not going to play "Cut Your Hair."
I echo his sentiments. Right now, basically, we start practicing on May 6th in Portland. And we get to practice for about 10 days and then 5 more days. And then we'll go to Barcelona and then Porto. Right. And I think as far as we can tell, those sets will be like 25 to 30 songs. So we're trying to figure out exactly how to make it entertaining. And we'd like to spice things up with songs that we didn't play in 2010 very much or at all.
Sure.
And so it's going to be an arduous process, but the way Pavement works is from past experience, both in 2010 and the 90s, is that we kind of pare things down. So I would expect that it's always interesting when they refer to hits only sets, because I don't really think of us, I guess that's sort of what we did a lot in 2010. We played what we thought were our hits. Sure. But we definitely want to, when we get on tour as the headlining band starting in September in San Diego, that there'll be quite a bit more variety than these 2 shows at Primavera Sound, which I think will be, for lack of a better way of putting it, like Pavement greatest hits sets.
Sure. A quarantine to the past.
Yes.
Yeah. So plenty of that, and plenty of Terror Twilight, because there's a certain amount of emphasis on that these days with the deluxe edition. And then yesterday was the 30th anniversary of Slanted Enchanted, and we've always played a lot of songs off that record. So, you know, I mean, we're very fortunate that we have a very large arsenal of songs. It's just a matter of getting from point A to point Z with execution.
Well, you have now like songs that are like new hits, right? Like that B-side that is your biggest song on Spotify, Harness.
Yeah, we'll play that.
Like soccer, right? In a way.
Steve, Harness Your Hopes, Steve West.
Yeah, Harness is always, it seems like it's a crowd pleaser no matter what generation. My kids to my generation and in between. So it appeals to so many people on a basic level, and it's great.
Don't you think that maybe you have like some more B-sides or maybe like some more rarities that could have like that potential, but that doesn't have like the light on them?
The problem is that we can't answer that question because that was decided by Spotify's algorithm.
Sure.
And TikTok. I mean, and TikTok as well. Like, I think the reason Harness Your Hopes, like something that I'm rather unfamiliar with, and I'm going to go ahead and venture a guess that the two other members of the band on here are not TikTokers. So I think that Harness Your Hopes kind of exploded on TikTok as well as Spotify.
Yeah, a few years ago.
Yeah. So
yeah, there was some like a TikTok challenge or something with that song in the background, and people did something, you know, maybe they danced around or put ice over their head or something. I don't know. I never saw it, but my kids said like, "You're blowing up on TikTok, Dad."
Yeah, and we used to play that song occasionally, and I mean, I always thought it was a good song, and I thought we played it pretty well, but it was never really prioritized until post 2010. I mean, it wasn't even on our mind in 2010. I don't even really recall playing it. I think we played about 70 shows in 2010. I don't remember playing Harness Your Hopes, but
if we did, it was only a couple of times.
And
it wasn't a lot.
Getting back to your question, yeah, we have a lot of B-sides, and but who knows? I mean, there could be, you know, if you had asked us 10 years ago, would Harness Your Hopes be the #1 Pavement song on this new music streaming channel or whatever, or app, we would have been surprised, you know? So who knows, you know, like, I guess that kind of thing happens with bands all the time. Songs getting popular because they're using a commercial or whatever. But I mean, we ourselves like a lot of the B-sides and some of the the less popular songs. And I think that one of the things that's going to happen during these rehearsals is that we're gonna go through some of those, and maybe we'll make one of those the next Harness Your Hopes or something. I don't know.
There you go.
Yeah. Great. I know that Steve West is a huge fan of an outtake from the Terror Twilight Sessions, that song, The Porpoise and the Hand Grenade. So we'll be giving that a few rips, I imagine, hoping we can come up with a live version. I should also mention that Pavement is going to utilize a 6th member for the first time ever. We have Rebecca Cole in our band now, and she's a very good keyboardist and singer, and synthesizer player. I think we're going to lean on her to do a lot of things that I certainly couldn't do. So
me neither.
Yeah. I know, but you guys keep in mind, like Mark plays bass and Steve West plays a drum kit. So, you know, they are tied down by their instruments, where I'm pretty much freelance and I can't really play piano. So it's going to be nice to have a proper you know, pianist, keyboard player who actually can sing background vocal as well. Because I've also, I'll honestly admit that I've over the years slaughtered many background singing parts.
Oh, Bob, whenever you sing, it always sounds great. I mean,
it always makes you laugh. It makes people laugh. But I can
it gets people fired up too.
Yeah, I can scream. So
there's a good quote that I really like about with Robert Christgau, who once wrote that you would be like the biggest band on the planet if you took singing lessons. I want to know what was your perspective about this view from Robert.
Robert who?
Robert Christgau. From Robert Christgau from the Village Voice.
Yeah, the famous rock critic. What did he say?
He said that we would be a bigger band if we had better singing.
I thought Malcolmus was a great singer.
Yeah, I did too. So to me, that's sort of, I don't know. I mean, he was.
Lou Reed couldn't sing. I mean, Lou Reed couldn't sing. I mean, yeah, come on, like. I mean, I think Thurston Moore he'd tell you he can't sing either. I mean, Michael Stipe, I don't know. I mean, I hate to harken back to one of the best lyrics by one of our friends, David Berman. But
there you go.
All my favorite singers couldn't sing. It's one of his lyrics. So we don't really we don't prioritize singing, but it is nice to Steve West or Steve Malcolm. You can sing, Steve West, and Mark Ibold can actually sing, but he, like me, I can't play percussion and sing at the same time, and he's not particularly adept at playing guitar or bass and singing at the same time. It's hard. I marvel at people who can do it.
I have always had this feeling that Pavement is kind of special because it has these moments where it is like when you get this energy that you didn't give a lot of shit about what's going on, like these riffs when you start just shouting things or making the chorus in a kind of dissonant singing approach. I think that's what Robert talk about, but I want to know what's the intention behind that. If it's the intention to be a little bit more amateurish in a way without being.
Mark,
I'm sorry, did you? But I missed one of the last words there. You said the intention being what?
More amateurish in a way.
Oh, amateurish. Oh, okay. Is that our intention? I mean. Well, one thing we always have told people is that we're always trying very hard to be as professional as possible.
I agree.
We're sorry if we come off sounding amateurish.
Yeah. It wasn't our goal. That's not by accident. That's just we are trying. Like he's saying, we are trying.
But at the same time, we're happy with the way things sound pretty much every time, and don't feel like we have to go back in and keep doing things over and over again until they're until we sound like Tom York or whatever. That's not gonna happen. So we want to keep it kind of casual and natural sounding, I guess. So and that's the way it ends up.
Yeah, basically we in the 90s and beyond, we are who we are, and that's very basic, but at the same time we have always tried our best to sound as good as we possibly could, whether it be live or in the studio. If it came off as amateurish, then that was not by design. I mean, in fact, towards the last 2 or 3 years we were a band, I was really amazed and pleased that sometimes I'd finish a show and I think we have actually gone full circle in a lot of ways when I think about the shows in the very early 90s, but even before Slanted Enchanted, where if we successfully completed a song and it sounded anywhere close to how we wanted it to sound, we actually over the years got better. And in 2010, I thought we were remarkably consistent. And you never want to be boring. And I always felt that the audience, we were blessed with incredibly supportive fans who often I felt were kind of rooting for the band to be good, as opposed to going to see. I remember playing with bands like Stereolab and who were just a well-oiled machine, and there was a lot of classically trained musicians in the band who were so bored to be playing pop music. Pavement's really never been that way. we were just kind of thrilled to pull it off, and we had basic framework from, in the main, a really good songwriter. So the songs are really good. Steve Malkus especially, and Scott wrote really good songs, and so we had good material to work with, but we tried to make them sound live and in the studio as good as we could possibly make them sound.
Now that we are talking about songs, I want to know which is your favorite song from each one of you, from Pavement, and why?
West?
I'm gonna have to go with Porpoise and the Hand Grenade because it seems to get a lot of traction these days.
Okay.
You know that song off of Terror Twilight?
Sure.
He loves the song. He loves the song so much.
It's like Steven. It's like if I imagine Steven singing a lullaby to his daughter when they were really young, that would be the song he'd be singing to him.
Huh.
Okay.
I don't even know it.
Yeah, I mean, I only know
We played it. We all played it, but not very much.
Mark, I only know it because I've listened to it like 5 times in the last 3 days. I mean, I could name that tune, but I'll name 3 songs: "Grounded," "Stop Breathing," and "Transport is Arranged." Because I thought those 3 songs, as they grew as live songs, in addition to Type Slowly, perhaps became like really way better live than they were in the recorded. The recorded version was just a blueprint, and so like a really good version of Transport is Arranged or Grounded or Stop Breathing, I thought, were sort of powerful in the same way that like, Fillmore Jive had been in the early years and stuff like that. Because like, songs like Here and Cut Your Hair and In the Mouth of Desert and Summer Babe, we played them so many times that In Stereo and Shady Lane and songs like that, like it would be rare to play a version of one of those that was wince worthy, would make me wince. It was nice to play songs that actually kind of transcended like what they were on the record, and the album Wowie Zowie had a lot of that going on. So who knows? I mean, because like when I think of like Crooked Rain, a lot of people love Crooked Rain, which I think, I love the album as well. But by the time that was finished, I really don't think that many of those songs sort of changed in the live mode. And I thought that the Wowie Zowie, the Bright in the Corners era in particular, sort of those songs like clearly got better during lengthy touring.
Yeah, Bricked in the Corners is my favorite album from Pavement.
Yeah, my wife too.
Brighton has been my favorite one, kind of listening back to everything. I also really like listening right now. I like listening to the combination Heckler Spray going into From Now On, and I like the name Heckler Spray still.
It's great.
It's good. It's just good old era Pavement. But I would agree with. I mean, I like all the. I really like. To me, it's a very hard question to answer. What's my favorite Pavement song? I don't have a favorite record. I don't have a favorite food. I don't have a favorite movie, and I love all of those things so much. But it's because I love it all that I can't say that one is my favorite. But yeah, right now I would say maybe well, Heckler going in and From Now On together as a pair.
That's cool. Yeah, we did that a lot of times. So we'll bring that back. Yeah, we'll bring that back. It is a good combo. How about like Oscar, is there any Pavement songs that you hate? Because that's always more intriguing to me. Like, because there are a few that I don't like, either live or on record that. But like off the top of your head, like you feel free, like, like to tell us, like, is there anything like if you like had to get a beer, or go to the bathroom, or like, leave the room, like what song during a Pavement set would you leave the room?
I will not know what songs you hate because I really like Pavement. So I really don't have like some songs that I say, I don't like to hear that. I think my least favorite album from Pavement, this is like controversial, but Wowie Zowie, I think that's not my favorite record. I think.
Okay, fair enough. That's fair enough.
Yeah. I want to know now your versions.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's funny that you say that, because for the longest time, I really thought that the biggest Pavement fans always selected Wowie Zowie as their favorite record. So that is very controversial. But I mean, I know that you still probably just love that a little less than all of the other ones.
Yeah.
That's right. I was going to ask you about Cold Sounds. Pitchfork once named Cold Sounds the best song from the 90s. I want to know, like, if that news surprised you at the time, and why do you think that this song means a lot to a lot of listeners from Pavement and no Pavement fans?
I'm surprised by that choice, but flattered at this also, because that song is very, I mean, compared to a lot of songs from the 90s, it's pretty subtle. You know, it's a pretty, but it is a really pretty and sort of a warm, beautiful song.
Sure.
So I see that, you know, but again, just naming one song as like the best song of the 90s, boy, oh boy, that's kind of a stretch.
It's a ridiculous chore, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that probably
super cool that they chose that, though. I think, you know.
Yeah, and it's obviously hard for us to get our heads into the Pitchfork editorial staff of the 90s. But you got to keep in mind too that Pitchfork sort of started. I think that when they began to exist in the early 90s, Pavement was at the forefront of their imagination. So.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, Pavement was very well treated by rock critics. And so just like a lot of things, including Matador and Drag City and our booking agent, Botch, like a lot of things were people from our generation who've basically grown up with Pavement. And so I think that it's a positive thing that worked for us, that a lot of really creative people, not only bands, but journalists and record labels and people that work in the music industry, Pavement was concurrent with their existence. Whereas we're all in our 50s now, and so we all were into music, started getting really into music in the early 80s, and the current generations of rock critics and influencers are a little bit younger than us. So whereas we were heavily influenced by things like REM and Echo and the Bunnymen and Sonic Youth and dozens of other bands from the 80s, Jesus Lizard and so many. I mean, I could obviously sit here from now until 7:45 and name influences, but I think that things like that, Pitchfork became a really sort of formidable thing, and all those kids were about 5 to 10 years younger than us when they sort of became famous rock critics. I mean, it's kind of interesting that you mentioned Chris Gow before us, because Chris Gow came before us.
Sure.
So I think it's just Pavement was, Nirvana would be too obvious for Pitchfork. So I guess they had to choose a Pavement song. They chose Cold Sounds, I mean, it's cool. It's cool with us. I mean, I think it's a good Pavement song. I mean, how hard is it for you to play on drums? It's easy for you, right, John?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I never really had a part on it other than tambourine, so and we'll have to ask Mark when he gets back. But no, we're those kind of things are just above board compliments to us, and it's kind of interesting being a band in the 90s and and being revered so much in the early part of the 90s, and then around the time Wowie Zowie and Bright in the Corners came out, and then Terror Twilight, it was cool to like diss Pavement, which was fine with us. I mean, like, you know, it was our turn. I mean, that we saw that happen to so many other bands, and still does, you know, to this day. Like, you know, the famous Sophomore Slump, and like, you know, we used to love this band and now we hate them. I mean,
right.
You know, it's just, I mean, I remember like, you know, doing interviews with journalists and, you know, and feeling like I'd made a bond with them, and then seeing them 5 years later and be like, oh man, hey, what have you been up to? And they were just like going after the next, what they thought was the next cool thing.
Yeah, the next star.
That's their job. I mean, that's their job.
Yeah, it is. You can't blame them for that. Yeah.
No, it's their job. Like, I was never going to be like, oh, that guy used to be nice to me when I was cool in 91, and now, you know, I mean nothing to him because he's you know, because he's into Blur. I mean, like, whatever, you know, like, in the case, I mean, it's just, none of that's, basically, I think Pavement always had a really good mindset about taking criticism well. I mean, there's sometimes when they would specifically point out certain members of the band, and I think all 5 of us dealt with it, being dissed at various points, and we were very supportive in that regard with each other. Like, that's kind of an underrated aspect of Pavement. Like, you know, we didn't spend a lot of time around each other because we lived in 5 different places, so which might have helped us in the end. It sort of hurt us from the standpoint of having a regular rehearsal schedule and all of those kind of things. But when we got together, we were like a team. So it was like teams in sports that have off seasons. And, you know, when it's time to play, you get together and make a record, or you go on tour.
Right.
You know, so.
It was strange that you quote Blur because, well, Graham Coxon always said that it was like you were his biggest inspiration, right? His biggest influence.
Well, I think they were just, they were trying to figure out what to do with their music, and then they started listening to Pavement, and that they gave them opportunity to take it to the next level in their careers. So song 2, I think, you know, during that era, Blur, and I can't even name 5 Blur songs, to be honest with you. But at the same time, it was rather clear that they embraced Steven as one of their favorite songwriters, and that didn't hurt us at all. I mean,
yeah, that helped.
Yeah, that helped also. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it must. Well, I suppose that you have like your fair amount of dealing with criticism and all that kind of stuff, but at the same time, Robert Christgau named you the greatest band of the 90s. You have the biggest song of the 90s by Pitchfork. You were like pretty...
we were very, very well treated.
Celebrated.
Very well treated.
Yeah, very well treated.
And still are. I mean, I read an article yesterday on the 20th anniversary, or the 30th anniversary of Slanted Enchanted, and this one publication in Brooklyn, they spoke to like 20 different artists of, you know, young kids, including a teenage band called Horse Girl that's on Matador, and artists that are contemporaries, and they talked about, you know, how Slanted Enchanted sort of like changed their game, and it certainly changed ours. I mean, at that point in Pavement, we were just merely a project that never thought about going on tour. And when Slanted Enchanted came out, it became rather clear to us that we were actually a real thing, was going to be able to tour and make records, and then, you know, maybe even potentially not have to work when we were off tour, when we weren't recording, and we kept that going for about 7 years. So it was a good run. Yeah,
and well, you still are active in a lot of acts also.
What's that? I'm sorry, Oscar.
Yeah, that you have always been active in some projects or others. It has been.
I mean, Malcolmus has never stopped. Malcolmus has never stopped. Ibold, of course, he's not here. He'll tell you about that. He went on to become a member of Sonic Youth.
Yeah, I know.
Steve West had a great band called Marble Valley that made a few
Marble
records
Valley.
with. What's the name of your band now?
Unmastered Masters.
He's got a really cool band called Unmastered. I've seen them; they're good. And Kannberg started Preston School of Industry. And I don't write songs like the rest of my bandmates. So I don't know if Mark writes songs. But I was in a band in Des Moines, but I've got a little record label. And we've kind of kept our toe in.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep it wet.
Yeah.
Before you go another time, I have like a question, especially for you, Bob. You are changing your names, right? I'm not like, this is Bob.
Oh, that's Mark down there, or he's down at the bottom now, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to know, like, what was the biggest learning that you have while being on Sonic Youth?
Oh, me? What?
Sure.
What? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I wasn't in Sonic Youth, Mark.
Yeah. No, sorry. I just, my power ran out on my computer, so I disappeared and I had to just sign back on, and my audio wasn't on. So I just caught the end of that. What were you the question was, what about Sonic Youth?
Yeah, what was the biggest learning that you have while being a part of Sonic Youth?
What I learned?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I guess I learned more about just being like a band member in general, and like having your finding your sort of space within like a group. And in that case, it was an established group, and I had to kind of find my little sort of place in it. I don't know if that makes sense, but I would, that was sort of a big thing, like being in a band, you have to really, you have to get along with all the people, and not that it's difficult. I mean, I've been in bands that have actually just had nothing but nice, like they've all been my friends pretty much. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think what else would I have learned other than that? I mean, I guess by playing, I was getting better at playing by being in that band. But no, I'm sorry. I wish I could come up with a real lesson that I learned from being.
It's a tough question. It's a tough question. It's a tough, yeah. It's a tough question.
I also have another one similar, but for all of you.
Yeah.
We are like living the anniversaries of Slanted Enchanted, the first record, but also there are Twilight, the last one. And I suppose that you have been like thinking about these records a lot these days. I want to know, like, what is your perception about maybe how you grew from one record to another as an artist, and what changed in the band?
You want to try that one, West?
Yeah, I think that, well,
I'm going to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
No, I'm here. Can you? Oh, okay. And I think that we really grew, like you're kind of saying, from one record to the next, where we became more and more of a touring band and a recording band up until the end. I mean, that was a nice natural aspect to it, and it affected the way that each album sounded, because you can hear more personalities of each person in the band as it grew from a project to a full-on touring group.
What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Steve. I mean, one of the things for us that I think we were, probably every band is aware of this, but you really try not to repeat yourselves. Mm-hmm. And try to make a record that isn't too much like the previous one. And so then, like, the more records you've made, the harder that becomes. So by the time we were, Slanted and Enchanted was, those songs were just written by these guys that were like in California with their friend, going into a studio, thinking not much of it, and by the time Terror Twilight was recorded, we were like making, you know, we'd made several records, and we were really trying hard to be different from those previous records, and to try to do things in a way that was, well, we used a producer, and it was kind of, the recording was taken a bit much more seriously. So, you know, that was a really big change from even the previous record, you know. So, yeah, a lot of big changes through the history of the band via the recordings.
And what about maybe the musical approach? Do you think that you changed a little bit about that? Maybe also the themes, the lyrics?
Go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, no, basically, to me, like, and this probably has occurred with most bands that last for 10 years. Every era of Pavement was different. So whether it be the stuff before Slanted Enchanted, which was essentially 3 guys and a couple of very brief tours, and then Slanted Enchanted, which was still 3 guys, and then Mark and I actually first appeared at a recording session for Watery Domestic, which is really a much beloved record, certainly to the members of the band. It was an EP, but we loved those 4 songs, and we made some extra tracks. And then Crooked Rain, I wasn't a part of it, Mark was, and Steve West was a huge part of that record. And that had a similar type set of stops and starts that Terror Twilight also had. Keep in mind, I was unfamiliar with Crooked Rain. Wowie Zowie and Brighten the Corners. Wowie Zowie was made in Memphis with the Easy at Easy Studios, and we were very comfortable there and very proficient. And then when we went to make Brighten the Corners with Mitch Easter in Kernersville, North Carolina, that was similar. I mean, it was. I feel like as Pavement records, they were kind of easy records to make. I wasn't around for Crooked Rain. It didn't sound to me, I was in Louisville, didn't sound to me like it was an easy record to make, and Westy and Ibold can enlighten you on that. Terror Twilight was a situation where when we started the process in '98 Portland, we just, the entire band, aside from Malcolmus, was kind of behind. It was like all new, and we didn't make much progress in Portland at Larry Crane's studio. And I recently read a quote from Joanna Bolma, who played in Chicks for years, and Larry Crane, who would watch us like play these songs, and they would get frustrated. They were sitting there watching, and they'd get frustrated with us because they were amazed that the other 4 people in the band couldn't figure out the songs, which I found mildly insulting, but that's cool. But by the time we got to New York, Nigel had been brought into the fold, and I don't think any of the 3 of us made that decision, and nor did we object to it either beforehand or during the process. And he obviously had some immediate success in his career, and he was a young man, and he wanted to make a good Pavement record because he liked Pavement. And we started making the record at the Sonic Youth practice space, which was called what? What was it called? Can't remember.
Echo Canyon?
Yeah, Echo Canyon. And thankfully, within a very brief period of time, he was not comfortable trying to make a record in there the way he made records with whatever equipment he used, which was beyond me. And so we moved into a studio, and we felt kind of rushed. And so basically we got done what we could get done in a certain amount of days. And then the record was finished in London. I think Mark was there, and Steve West and I weren't. which was again completely fine with me because I was used to not being at recording. So I certainly never was a part of any Pavement mixing process, and so Mark maybe can enlighten you on the London aspect of that record, but it was a difficult record to make. But in the end, just like Crooked Rain or any of the records that came before it, I was pleased with the outcome because I thought the mission was accomplished in that it clearly sounded different from the previous 4 albums, which is a goal of bands. You don't want to sound samey. You don't want to be like, this is more of the same. I think that, throughout rock and roll history, which is not a subject that I'm ace at, but it's just kind of I think that no band wants to continue like sounding the same because it'll bore people, and so Terror Twilight was just different, and Nigel was a very significant part of the process, and he focused on Malkmus because Malkmus was the chief songwriter, and I don't mind that. He was trying to get something accomplished in a finite period of time, but no, I mean, maybe Mark, you went to London, right, Mark?
Yeah, I did.
There are like some writings that say that it was so expensive, the making of that record, that Steven used to sleep on Nigel's department, right? Floor department.
That was by choice, I'm sure.
Yeah. I forget where we were all staying. I think that he might have done that. I remember there was a lot of, wasn't that the record when Steve was figured out how the rules of cricket went?
Yeah.
Watching a lot of
cricket.
Yeah. I just remember Rob Bingham being there and drinking lots of tea and deciding that I liked English tea.
The late Rob Bingham, the Bing guy. Yeah.
Of course, there was like a lot of pressure for you to come again and make some shows in these 10 years that you weren't. But I want to know, why did you choose to come back now?
Well, let's. You want to go west?
Yes,
yeah.
Steve West.
Well, I think it was just because Steven decided he wanted to do it again. I mean, I think it was him. I don't know if it was anybody else, but he's the one that told me about it.
You're talking about 2010 or 2020?
No, 2020. I saw him play in Washington, D.C., and he said, I don't know if you know this, Matt, but Pavement's going to do a tour again, and we're going to do this and do that. And I was like, yeah, I've heard a little bit about that. And he was really upbeat about it, so it made me really happy.
Yeah, no, basically the same thing happened to me in 2009 before the 2010 tour. He played a festival in Des Moines, and I couldn't go because I work at the racetrack there 70 hours a week. He headlined the local festival downtown, and he was staying at the Marriott in downtown Des Moines. He's like, can you come by the hotel room on your way home from work? I've got something to tell you. And it was, the summer before the 2010 tour. And he's like, yeah, are you cool with doing more Pavement stuff next year? So I mean, I think that his booking agent, Botch Billions, one of his best friends, who's worked with Pavement since 1991, who also does Jix and also does his solo tours, is the only person who's really successful at convincing Steven to do Pavement stuff, because Kannberg has asked me over the years to reach out to him, to try my best, and those have all been failed missions. So I don't know whether he does it on his own or via Botch's influences, but the two of those guys are the guys that we get our information from. Basically, Steven, obviously you're talking to 3 members of Pavement. If Scott was on here, I think that obviously we can't play Pavement shows without Steven. It's that basic. And some people would suggest that we can't play Pavement shows without any of the 5 core members, but we certainly can't do them without Steven. And basically, I think like the 3 gentlemen you're talking to today, if they have the time and energy to do it, are always going to put down what they do to do a Pavement tour. So, you know, we set out in 2020, like 100,000 other musical artists, to tour and play live shows in 2020, and that's just been pushed back by a couple of years. And I think it's been way more difficult to people that are young and making records. I mean, these are reunions for us in the main. I mean, like in 2010, we didn't make any new music, and I don't know, who knows? I mean, maybe we'll make a new song or two this year. There's no plans for it, but who knows? I mean, it's just not really up to the 3 of us. I personally, I'll speak for myself and say I'm you know, thrilled to do it. I love playing Pavement shows. The people who love Pavement are fantastic, and just like 2010, we get to play for another generation of people that never had the opportunity to see us. That was one of the most enriching things about 2010.
Sure.
Yeah.
And also like the people that are 10 years older than us that, you know, now are in their late 60s and early 70s that have always loved Pavement, you know. So, you know, it's just a great opportunity for us, and it's a lot of fun, and we love the songs. I mean, you know, of the 70 that are on the current potential list, like there's only like 4 that I hate. So, you know, and that's because I just hate my part or whatever.
Right.
I want to know, like, if you would need to visualize a new record from Pavement, how would you think it will sound? What do you think it will talk about?
It'll sound really awesome.
Really awesome.
I don't know. I mean, I think we probably start with a single and take it from there. You know, who knows? But I don't anticipate anything new, because, in fact, I've even conjured the idea over the last 5 years of making a Pavement record, like a 7-inch record, like a limited edition of 500 copies, that was myself, West, Mark, and Scott. And if Steve wanted to play, he could play. Because obviously Scott has material, Steve West has material. I don't write songs. Mark, do you write songs? Have you ever written a song?
No.
I tried to write one. It was terrible. So maybe Mark and I'll be the chief songwriters. Mark will do side A and I'll do side B. That'll be the next Pavement record.
Yes, I want to hear that.
That's the challenge, Mark. That's the challenge for the next. We'll put it on Broker's Tip. It'll be very low profile.
Dudes, I only have like one last question. Well, being that you have been in a lot of projects also, and that you are like coming again and again into Pavement, I want to know, like, what is the main reason? Why do you like this project so much? What is the thing that makes you come back and be excited again about this band?
Wes or Mark?
For me, it's like Bob said, the fans are. It's great just to see all the people that are interested in the band, and I love all the songs, so that is one of the reasons I always come back. And the biggest thing is that, you know, I like all these guys. You know, it's very. I'm really looking forward to being around all of them for a while. It's interesting because we've always lived in different places, so it's pretty exciting to get together with these old friends and to do this stuff again for me. So that's a big deal.
Yeah, same camaraderie. Like, you know, we had a lot of brilliant experiences in the 90s, like, and even in 2010 was pretty magical as well. So, you know, it's interesting, like when bands break up, they always people always assume that there's some sort of like weird tension or hatred. Like that was never really the case in Pavement. It was just like, I felt like there was like, you know, essentially like it kind of had run its course, and that, you know, in the main, like Steven really wanted to work for the first time in a decade with musicians that lived in his neighborhood, that would challenge him more. And, you know, it was clear that at the time that we weren't going to relocate to Portland. And, you know, he'd entrenched himself in Portland, and, you know, so there came the chicks. And then he's embarked on, you know, a solo career. So, you know, he's our chief songwriter. And so basically, when the band stopped in 99, I was cool with it. I didn't expect to get back together at all in 2010. I was extremely cool with that. I was very pleased with the outcome, and we'll just hope for more of the same. But like, we all really like each other and always have, you know.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Johnny, you want anything to say?
Well, I would say we love the songs, and the opportunity to play them together as buds in a band with a camaraderie is what, it's amazing. I'm going to tear up.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty amazing to, like, you know, it's a feeling that as corny as it may sound, that you know, people, they don't, you know, people don't cheer for you. You know what I mean? In life, like people don't, you know, the moments where like, whether it's 200 people or like 10,000 people all cheering because they heard a good version of like,
something that you did.
Yeah, something that you did, like, it's just weird. It's
you don't get that every day.
Yeah, and you don't get that. Like, you know, like he goes to the grocery store, people don't still, when he walks to the grocery store, people don't cheer for him. You know what I mean? Like, he goes to the deli, people don't cheer. So, like, you know.
He got the veggie stuff. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're back. We're coming back because we missed the applause. And also to do a decent version of Porpoise and the Hand Grenade, which Mark and I need to listen to more, I guess.
It's the most absurd song. It's going to be great to play that.
I hope so. I'm happy you're going to enjoy it. You better kick ass on the drums.
I just want to see you writing out Porpoise and the Hand Grenade every night, and everybody going, oh, the porpoise! The porpoise is coming out.
Yeah, well, hopefully Rebecca will come up with a good keyboard part, because whatever, I mean, who knows? We'll see what happens. The good news is I'm actually, you guys will be interested in that. This, my bandmates. Remember my Moog Prodigy keyboard that I had in the 90s?
Yeah.
I got a message the other day from a guy in Louisville named Steve Good. Well, I don't recall this, but when Pavement ended in 99, he's the guy that did like front of house sound for all the bands, and he was in bands and stuff like that. Just a great guy. And I was like, I'm not going to be playing music anymore. So I gave him my Moog in my case. And he contacted me about 2 weeks ago, and he said, hey, I see that Pavement's going to do more shows. I'd forgotten like who I gave it to. And he said, I've got it in Louisville. I pulled it out the other day out of its case, and it's working great. Come by. Yeah. He said, come by and pick it up. So next week I'm going to drive up to Louisville, which is like 4 hours from where I live in Paris, Tennessee, and pick up the Moog and bring it back. So
wow.
In the flight case.
That's magical.
Yeah, it'll be cool to see that thing. It'll be cool to see that thing. So I'll be bringing that out to Portland, and maybe we'll make some use of it. Because the Nord that I used in the second half of Pavement, I gave to the city of Hull. It's floating around Hull, you know.
Right, somewhere. We don't know. Maybe in the harbor.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that one dude, I can't even remember the guy's name. I think he has it, but anyways, we'll see what happens. So the Moog will make its return. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Just talking about memories, I just pop up with this that maybe I would like to hear like your greatest memory from Pavement.
I mean, it's going to be X-rated. I'm just kidding. Furthest thing from it.
It most definitely will not be X-rated.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. In recent years, that's a tough one. I remember when we played in Gdansk in Poland. We played in Gdansk in 2010, and we never played in Poland before. And it was a very unusual festival, and I'd never been in that city before, which was fantastic. And it's by the Baltic Sea, and they have amazing amber jewelry. And I bought a beautiful gift for my wife, an amber horse. But we played the gig, and the gig was good. And we were all hanging out backstage, and Grace Jones was led backstage. And in reason, it was very, very unusual and memorable to meet Grace Jones. I would say that would be like a memory in 2010 of like a legend you never expected to meet. And that happened a lot during Pavement. Like, we played TV shows and stuff. I mean, it was just weird. Like, and I don't really care about meeting famous people, but it was.
How about little Jimmy Scott?
Exactly. Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. I mean, it was just weird to be like in certain situations where you're just like, what in heaven's name am I doing here? You know?
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get more of that. But we pride ourselves on being pretty down to earth. I mean, so we'll enjoy it all. We'll try our best to enjoy it all.
You will. I hope you will, and I hope.
Yeah. Thanks, Oscar. And hopefully we'll come to Mexico.
Yeah, first time.
Yeah, Mexico City. I feel like we had a gig planned in Mexico City at least once in the 90s. Coming back from Japan, we were supposed to play Honolulu and Mexico City, and they both got canceled. And I presume it was because of lack of interest.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't think in 1994, like, maybe you can tell me, Paul, I think you're probably too young. I don't think that people really cared about indie rock. Like,
you're right.
90s indie rock in Mexico City, like now.
No, not until 2000.
Yeah, did you play there with Sonic Youth?
Yes, but really for Matador, there was no interest in any Matador bands until Interpol.
Okay, yeah.
And that's where Interpol blew up, really, was in Mexico City. Oscar, I'm sorry, what city are you in?
I'm from Estado de Mexico, from Mexican state, but I always, all the time on Mexico City.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure because the fellow Juan, I think, was he in Colombia or was he?
He's Colombia. I think he works like on the media side for Matador. I mean, I hope we play Mexico City. I hope that happens. Oh, I love it there. I love it there.
It's
fantastic
like a
place
dream for a lot of people here.
Yeah.
Equipment here, right, in life. Yeah.
Well, I hope it happens. I really hope it does. Because I've gone there several times, and it would just be a blast to go there with Pavement. I did, Bob. I did play there with Sonic Youth one time. I think just once.
And Jose Cuervo, I remember. I think
in a club.
Yeah.
Right, like a club type space. Not a huge space, right?
No, not really. But
500 people, maybe.
Yeah, 600 more or less.
Yeah.
That works for Pavement. Pavement's good.
Yeah.
This type of that works.
Yeah,
for
we love it.
That's better.
Because we played in the last time we played a show was in Buenos Aires at a place called, I think it was called La Trastienda, and I think it held about 300 or 400 people. We played there back-to-back nights, and that's how we ended the tour in the fall of 2010. It was great. Yeah, really good time. So, and I've spent about 20 days of my life, 2 separate vacations in the winter time in Mexico City, and I always look forward to getting back there. You know. Oh. I actually found out, I went to a football match, and I wore a belt, which was a mistake. You have to check your belt.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I didn't know that. And so I basically spent 2 hours of my life holding my pants up. Yeah. But I'll learn.
Yeah. Very dangerous. Well, I appreciate very much all your...
Yeah, thank you, Oscar. Yeah.
Thank you, Oscar.
Thank
Hope
you.
you have a good tour.
Yeah, we'll see you
so
out there
too.
on the road. When are we going to see you? If we don't come to Mexico City, we going to see you before then?
No, but we're going to have some team members there on Barcelona to see the first show.
Oh wow.
Okay, cool.
They're going to take photos of you for
Yeah.
this.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Excellent.
Beautiful.
Well, we'll tell them that you're cool.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, mate. Thanks very
All right,
much.
man.
Yeah, have a good one.
Cheers.
Thank you,
Take care.
Oscar.
See you guys.
Oscar.
Yeah,
Bye-bye,
see you-
guys.
See you in
Bye.
10 days,
See you
buddy.
Nice
Yeah.
to Zoom with you all.
Yeah.